not going to Thank you, Alicia. This is not going to be able to make you an expert by any means, but it certainly will heighten your appetite for getting into it and to see how you can use it towards your own ends. I know I will call you Pat. I know what you do. We have some synergy there, and how we could perhaps collaborate to move forward. So that's one thing that we can see. I know different ones of us have different, as we found out last week, we have different interest in what we would want to use that for. So, um, with no further ado, we'll go on. Alicia,
And thank you, Dr. Clark.
you're welcome.
So we will get started with this slideshow, as we often do. I'll just get that open for us. We have a wonderfully full session today with some review as well. So hopefully that's going to help. Okay, so here we are in our third session. We have one more session next week, and we'll speak to this at the end of class as well, but we do have a guest filmmaker and technical expert coming next Tuesday who we can ask any questions to. We have our resident expert, which is Raphael, and he's here to support us, and we'll have another for next week as well. So we're going to generate some ideas about questions today that we might bring to Alan. So just to review, last week we spoke about interviewing skills and techniques. Now, if you didn't see your email, I sent a 2-page PDF document just to summarize things that we talked about, including what you shared, both the seasoned adults and youth, as suggestions for how to create a warm atmosphere and a comfortable, relaxed dialogue, how to feel confident as an interviewer or to support yourself to be brave, how to build connection with the interviewee, as well as how to flow with the interview and still get those sound bites, how to honor boundaries, and there's some more helpful tips at the end of that document as well. So that's there for you in your email, and we'll put it on Slack as well so that you can refer back to that and let us know if it's helpful to create some of these summaries for you. We could certainly do another one for today if that would be helpful for you. We're going to talk today about the casting process briefly. Now, the casting process has to do with selecting your interviewees. So it's not that you're going to interview just anybody. You want to look for people who are interesting to interview. Maybe they're outgoing. If they're painfully shy or withdrawn or closed, it could be really hard work for you to interview them. So you will just start to scout people who you know, people in your community, people in the intergenerational hub perhaps and beyond, to see who might be aligned with your podcast, who is easy to talk to. Maybe you feel a little bit of a connection or a familiarity with that person, even if you don't know them. And so that casting process is important, just so you don't waste your time, and you will have an idea going into the casting process of what theme your podcast is going to speak to. And you may have a specific episode that you can place the interview in after the fact. You might not know before what exact episode this person will speak in, but as you record and build your library of interviews, then you can start to create a story. So that's the casting process. Now, we spoke to interviews yesterday. We touched on pre-interview. The pre-interview is very important for a couple reasons. One is that you get to know the interviewee. Last week, both Mary and Raphael spoke to the fact of finding things in common. I think Jackie spoke to this as well, how to make a connection with that person you're interviewing before the actual interview begins. And so that pre-interview time is a very casual conversation. Usually it happens maybe a week or a few days or a couple weeks before your actual interview. And you're just kind of getting curious about this person, and you're starting to get a sense of what stories are emerging and what might be good material for your interview, so that when, let's say, the person is telling a story about, we had Joan Moore in our last drumming session, who was telling us about this pilgrimage she made to Gambia and Senegal, and to trace the roots of her ancestry. And that's a story that we didn't know about Joan, that just came up in our drumming and story sharing session. So if something interesting like that comes up in the pre-interview, you can make some notes, and, or I mean, ideally you're recording it and you'll listen to the recording after, but it's okay to take notes in the pre-interview, and then you can ask them with a prompt in your interview. You could say something like, Joan, when we were speaking earlier, you mentioned a trip to Gambia. Can you tell me more about that? So it's perfectly acceptable to ask them to go into that story again, and you might have different questions in the interview to draw out some of those sound bites that are going to support your podcast theme. The other purpose of the pre-interview is to listen to the room and do a bit of a sound check where the person you're interviewing is, particularly because we will mostly, in this COVID climate, be doing remote interviews over the computer, recording through Zoom. We have a couple other platforms we'll suggest today that are free, that you can use to do your recording of your interviews. There are also programs you can do to record your phone conversation. But ideally for an interview, you're going to see that person on the screen and record the audio separately from the video, so that you can make those facial gestures and see each other to still kind of get some of that connection. So when you're in that pre-interview, you would ask that the person be in the space that they're going to be doing the actual interview in. And then you want to listen to the room. And we're going to have a couple exercises today where we're training our listening ear to hear the subtle sounds. I couldn't find my headphones today, so you might hear some subtle sounds in the background here. And any noise at all is going to compete with voice, especially in podcasting. You don't have any video to distract from any background sounds. And it can be an echo. I expect the space that I'm speaking in probably has some echo, because some of the factors that create echo are hard flooring, so non-carpeted floor. There's lots of countertops. I'm in the kitchen. And it's a big space, all hardwood floor. So if you're encountering a lot of echo in the space where the interviewee is, you're going to guide them to maybe, they could lay a blanket on the floor, a duvet, a comforter. They can pull curtains closed. Windows are very reverberant and echoey. Glass, any hard surfaces will echo sound. Other things you're training your ear to listen for. Do they have a squeaky chair that they're sitting on? Are they wearing dangly earrings that are knocking on their earbud microphone, or bangle bracelets that are jingling as they move their arms? Our brains will naturally filter these sounds out. And so it's actually takes a little bit of training to train your ear and your brain to listen for all these subtleties. And we'll circle back to this and ask Raphael maybe a few of his tips over the years of how to get the cleanest sound possible. Oh yeah, let's ask Raphael about that, and then we'll do a group exercise where we're actually going to try and bring some distracting noise into our background and try to guess what is that noise in the person's background. So, but before we do that, Raphael, can you share any tips you have for us with respect to keeping a space with a good quiet sound for recording?
Well, one of the first things I would suggest, Alicia, is that if you're doing it at home, make sure that the people with you know that you'll be recording so that the flushing of toilets and so on will be, or if you're in a basement underneath the kitchen, you don't want to have the kitchen sink flowing. Dogs, you're thinking about getting a dog, okay? They could be a source of annoyance. In the middle of an interview, a dog might run in and jump on your lap and throw something down. Okay. But as far as the room is concerned, you don't want it to be too reverberant. So sometimes you can do, as you mentioned, carpeting. There are certain absorption foams that you can get and put on the walls or in the ceiling. Okay. The important thing, though, is to try and make the area in which you're doing the recording as soundproof as possible. If it sounds too lacking of reverb, in processing, you can add a bit of reverberation. But the thing is, you want to make the area as sterile as you can as from extraneous sounds.
Thank you, Raphael. That's a good point. Many of us are living with others. So make sure you let them know that you're in an interview and you're recording. I was doing some recording for a piece that I was helping to produce that was in Luminato Festival online this year. And I was living out west for a few months this spring in an Airbnb, mostly in basements, because those are the cheapest ones. And so I was having to do my recording. I had some voiceover recording to do for the piece. And I was recording between 1 and 3 in the morning. The people upstairs had 2 young children, and then they had a habit of watching TV until about midnight. And it was very loud. So the rooms where I was in were very reverberant, all hardwood floor, not a lot of furniture, the walls. So I ended up in the closet because the clothes in the closet were helping, and I just opened the door a little bit so so I could have some light. But the clothes in the closet were helping to get a very sterile sound. So you can be creative. You might have some foam around, and it's nice. You might even, let me show you something. I used to have roommates. Years ago, we lived in an artist household, and we had a recording studio. Now, this I got on sale at Loblaws for $5. And you could stick some foam in the back here or some kind of fabric, and then you can hang these. If you're serious about the podcasting and you want to keep going, you can get some old frames and frame some fabric or put some foam in there and hang them above your space where you're going to be recording. So that's a possibility as well.
Another thing, Alicia, is that I don't know, you're probably too young to know, but there used to be a thing called cork boards.
Yes.
You buy a cork board and you can pin things up in it. They could be a good absorbent material to end reverberation. And you also have to bear in mind, you might be doing your recording just about the same time the next door neighbor decides to mow the lawn. Or in winter, they may choose to start up the snow blower. So all of those things are outside of your control, but you can mitigate them by making the place more conducive to a noise-free environment.
And another good point, Raphael, one of the things that is often good to do in that sense too is if you leave about a minute of audio just with the sound of the room, so that in your editing, you can track that sound, and it's easier to remove because it's separate from all the voices. Now, we're not getting into the editing techniques this session, this 4-week session. That being said, we want to give you some insights about what that process is like and some heads up if you're starting your interviews, and then you might learn as you go with the editing software. So leaving that 1 minute of silence so you can get the room space and any background sounds that are out of your control is it can possibly help you to eliminate them in the editing process. So we're going to do an exercise now. We were going to find something that's going to make noise in our background. So you can have a few minutes to look around your house and think of something. It might be a squeaky chair. It might be you put on some jewelry. You can turn off your video if you don't want us to see what you're doing. And then we're going to come back and take turns. We'll mute ourselves and just listen to your space and try to hear what's happening in the background there. So we'll just take a minute or two to find an object.
Pat, hello, Pat. Pat, are you there?
Hello?
Hi, I'll call you later on to talk to you. So, are you going to be available after?
Me, yes.
Okay.
Okay, does everybody have an object? A distractor?
I suppose we could do it one by one.
Mm-hmm.
So each person could do their thing, and then the rest of us will guess what that was.
Yes, and we'll have to mute ourselves except the person who is speaking because many of us do already have background
Yeah.
sounds happening.
Okay. So I'll start off. And so the rest of you can mute and listen carefully. Okay.
Okay. Any guesses for what that sound is? Oh, now you're
I'll start. I'll start off with Mary. Did you hear?
Yeah, I heard a little bit.
What is your guess?
Um, your finger tapping? Or I don't know.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's what you're thinking. Okay. Oh, anybody else? Any differ?
I was going to guess foot tapping, so I'm on the same page as Mary.
Okay.
Mhm.
Joan? No? Uh, Pat?
I'm just asking.
Tapping or water dripping.
Oh, tapping or water dripping. Okay. Joe?
Didn't get it at all.
Oh, you didn't hear it. Okay, no problem. Raphael?
Oops. Sorry, Raphael. I think I tried to help by unmuting you and you unmuted yourself.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Leroy, I thought it sounded repetitive as though it was a tapping motion on your part, whether it's your feet or your finger. It sounded like a tapping sound.
Okay. Right. It was a tapping sound. It was my finger on the desk actually, and this part. Thank you. So most of you are on track with that one. Now sometimes you're doing an interview, and sometimes it's like a nervous tick. Sometimes you are doing an interview and you're feeling nervous and you perhaps doing something like that while you're asking the question. But it's difficult to remove that once you have recorded it into your interview. So that's something that you have to be aware of. And Alicia did talk about, yeah, so those are ones that we definitely have to watch. And sometimes we are wanting to be supportive of the interviewee, but we just have to try to not do that. Okay, over to the next person.
How about Joan? Go ahead.
Don't show us what you're doing.
Uh-oh.
No, I didn't see. I didn't see. I could hear.
Now you show us. So you might have to choose something else. We don't want to see it. We want to be able to guess it. Okay, why don't you select something else and we come back to you maybe. Pat?
I missed a little bit of it because I have someone doing some work in my house.
Oh, that would have been useful.
So, so the idea is to do something, a sound, an annoying sound really, that
It could
recording
be
is not
annoying.
conscious about. Okay, so I am going to,
Don't tell us what it is, though.
no, I won't tell you.
Okay.
Can you hear?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Mary?
Okay.
Okay, so we'll have guesses for both Pat and for Mary.
Yeah.
My guess for Mary is something glass, flicking something glass, maybe.
You're close.
Okay.
Guesses for what?
For
Mary or
my
Pat?
my guess for Pat is that she was typing.
Oh,
No?
no.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hmm.
Do you want me to share?
I think Pat was rubbing her hands. I feel like she was rubbing her hands or something.
No.
What? Okay, what was it, Pat?
Okay, you know how a lot of us have bracelets and we don't think of the sound when we are recording, that we move our hands and
Oh.
it's so easy. because you do it all the time. You don't,
Right.
that it could be annoying.
And that was what Alicia did mention as well,
Mhm.
in terms of the clanging sound of earrings or bangles. Yeah.
Anybody else have a
Awesome.
guess for Mary's
And
sound?
Mary sounded like she was knocking on a glass.
yeah, okay. That's what Alicia said as well.
You want me to tell you?
Go ahead.
It's the sound of a candle.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Glass candle. I was
a gas
in
candle.
my fingers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it the candle holder?
Yeah, the candle holder of it. Yeah.
So it's glass, is it?
Yeah, it's glass.
Okay, it's glass. Okay. Awesome. Okay.
And Joan, was that a cat purring that you had and licking?
Yes. I was having a hard time keeping her here.
Just to help her come.
And then I put the food and she started crunching.
That's a good one. So sorry, no cats around.
What about Raphael? Are you there to share a sound with us?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, let's hear your sound. Okay, could everyone hear that?
I could hear it. Mhm.
Any guesses?
I'll go with the typing again, or
Me too. I think it sounds like typing.
I thought it was typing too, and maybe mouse and touching.
yeah, or yeah, yeah.
Mary, do you have a guess about that sound?
I'm not sure. It sounded like banging to me. Maybe banging on the desk, I guess.
Okay.
Raphael?
You're all right.
Yeah.
I was playing with a mouse and then I went to the keyboard.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Okay, let me do mine. And by the way, we didn't do this one, but when you have headphones on, when you drink, the glug, 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 it's really loud. If I'm teaching, like in a setting like this, if I'm going to take a drink, I'll mute myself for a minute and take a drink.
Let's have it then.
I don't have my headphones, but you can hear, I'll try to come close.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's a really, especially with the microphone, it's like you're got your ear to the person's throat. It's very unattractive.
Were you hearing this?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear it.
Oh my goodness. That's interesting. Yeah. So
Here's one more for you.
your pen.
This is something people do when
Yeah.
they're nervous. So we're training our ears here together to be able to perceive some of those subtle sounds in the pre-interview. And sometimes it's nice to make a list and send to the interviewee ahead of time. I can put something together and email out after our session of what we've talked about here. The tapping, the computer, the pets, the jewelry, the water, any twitches, the pens and stuff. So
Any bodily movements sounds that might be distracting that you can wait off on would be good because that could be very, 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 very bad. But yeah.
Something I found was very, very annoying. I don't know if any one of you had looked at the view And most of the ladies, they wear what is called a lapel microphone, a lavalier microphone. And Whoopi Goldberg was particularly bad because she sounded as though she has, I think she's asthmatic. But
Right.
she had a breathing problem. It was so annoying that sometimes I recorded section of the show, and then I had to go in and remove the sound of her breath. It was just really pronounced.
Yes, that was something that I was gonna bring up too. I'm glad you did, Raphael, because I was thinking of pronouncing it actually in terms of.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you hearing it?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's something. It's something that we have to be aware. But it's interesting that even with respect to podcasting, it's very, very important. But even if we are doing a Zoom call like this one, that in itself, because some people do record that and use it, but even if we're doing it and not even thinking about it, it comes up and it helps to some extent. People define you by some of the things that you don't necessarily want people to define you with. So I think those are some of the things that are critical.
Yeah. Any background sound distracts from the conversation and the topic and the theme. That's what you want people to be hearing. And we want to keep them engaged. Like some of you were saying, it can get irritating to hear some of those sounds and people will tune out. Oh, there's another one for us. Silence your phones. All of the dinging and beeping and blinging. So we want to silence our own phone.
That's a good one.
Yeah, well, I'll add that to the list.
No.
So what we're going to do now is we'll go into 2 breakout rooms. So we'll be 3 and 3. And we're going to, let me just go back to the slideshow for a second. I'll share this slide with you of the question. We're going to we'll start by asking one person, who is the most interesting person you know and why? And we'll have about 10 minutes. So one person's going to choose to be interviewed and the other 2 will take turns asking questions and let that one main question lead and kind of percolate your curiosity based on what the person replies. And then you can take turns asking a couple other questions. Now, if you're the interviewee, try to keep your story or your sharing about who this person is and why they're interesting to that question. Maybe not starting out with how you met them and all those things, because we want to leave room for people to ask you questions. So who is the most interesting person you know and why? So we will go into breakout rooms now. I'll just set that up. We'll have 2 breakout rooms. It will assign automatically. Okay. And you can join. Leroy, I'm not sure why it's not. Leroy, you're going to have to. Leroy, you'll have to go into breakout rooms and add yourself to one room. Press breakout room and then maybe add yourself to room 2 because I was with Joan and Raphael last time. So you'll click join. Where it says room 2, you'll go to the right side and press join. Do you see it? Okay. Joan, are you able to join room 2? Is there a button you see to? I'm going to move you there. How about that? Oh no, I can't. Oops. Okay. Okay, so here we are. I can actually pause the recording so we don't have to record this.
Awesome. Go ahead, Raphael or Joan. You were in. You're mute, Joan. If you
Yes. Can I say I had a jolly good time with my two brothers?
Yes, you can. And
Love,
how was it?
very
yeah.
comfortable.
Mm.
Comfortable.
The
Yes.
questions, it was easy to have the questions, the curiosity lead you to the question.
On and on. We could have gone further.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome.
And what
Raphael?
about, yeah.
Joan was the proverbial rose between two thorns. And it was easy to talk, to have a conversation. And Leroy is a wealth of information about Jamaican and other topics. And it was easy talking to him about the iconic Miss Lou Bennett Hoveley.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Wow, it was great with my guys, yeah, Raphael and Joan, and of course with Raphael, he's a yeah, in terms of a wealth of individuals. There's so much that he could talk about and go on and on, but and I think one of the things that is powerful here, you get a sense of, oh, I'm interested in knowing more about this person because there's so much that can be said about them. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get a sense of what the pre-interview, where you're just having a casual question following your curiosity, how you could start to learn more about the person and what you might like to go deeper into in the main interview. How about Mary? How was the experience of being interviewed, Mary?
It felt actually really great to open up about how I feel to you guys. So it felt really nice.
That's wonderful to hear. Yeah, it was lovely to get to know a little more about you. And you were
And to share because I was a little nervous a little bit. So yeah, I was happy that you guys like understand. So yeah.
Was it easier to do it in a smaller group?
Yeah, it was a little easier. Yeah,
Good.
felt
Good.
nice.
Awesome. Awesome.
very good. So we're going to now, let me just refer to my notes. We have 15 minutes. So we're going to take 5 minutes. I'll go back to the slideshow here for a moment. We're going to watch a 5-minute piece of this film that I worked on with Alan, in partnership with Alan, based on one of the intergenerational projects from a couple years ago in Markham. And so that you can get a sense, it's a 5-minute piece of the film where we strung together the responses of different participants in the program, but we did not include our own voices as the interviewer. And I alluded to that last class, that you can choose whether you include your voice in the podcast, or if you can actually tell the story without even hearing the questions. There's a story that can be pieced together. So you can see that these were for film. So you can see the lighting and all the equipment that could be a potential barrier to making that connection with the person. So you really have to work hard, but we were in the same physical space, so that helps. So let me go now to that 5 minutes of the film, and you can let me know if hopefully it's going to play well and easily without being choppy. Just type a note in the chat if it's getting choppy, or unmute and let me know, because we'll stop it if it's going to be choppy like that. Okay, so this is towards the end of the film. At the end of our project, both groups were asked to share their reflections of their experience and what they learned. Personally, I was incredibly happy by the way things went. I feel we met our goal to bridge the gap between seniors and youth, and I strongly believe that other communities would greatly benefit from this experience.
Kids, I thought, were lazy. After we got to interact with them, I had to admit I was wrong. They really did have plans, that they weren't going through life aimlessly. That was an eye-opener for me, a real revelation.
We built community. Their feedback was that they felt worthy and honored to hear the stories from the seniors. When you feel worthy for that reason, you're going to be okay.
They weren't just doing it because it was a classroom exercise and they were going to be graded on it. I think that they felt they could get something out of this that would be useful for them.
After talking with them, after meeting with them, it just made me feel that my purpose here on earth has given something to someone else, younger than me. Maybe some of my experiences will help them.
I'm taking away a much greater gratitude for life. Just seeing how lively they are, it kind of influences me. That's how I want to be when I'm older.
This is the first time we've had an opportunity to interact with a bunch of young people, and their energy was healing for us.
Definitely changed my way of seeing everything. When I was asking them, oh, what's your happiest moment? What's your saddest moment? And I was thinking to myself, I was like, why am I getting so worked up about my skin? Or why am I getting so upset over some little fight that I had with my friend, or some breakup I had with a boy, when that's not gonna matter in the end? That's what I was thinking to myself, and that's what I started seeing everything in a new way.
We weren't talking at each other, we were speaking with each other. They realized, oh, they have some sense after all, and they've been on a journey that I'm going on now, and maybe I can pick up a few things.
Their stories, the time that they spent with us was definitely worthwhile. We learned a lot from it, and thank you for being so open with us about your stories and sharing your experiences. I discovered that failure is something really necessary in order for you to really grow as a person or learn from, and that failure is really what leads to success. You need failure in order to define what success is. You guys are kind of planting seeds in our heads for the rest of our lives, so your impact and the impact that you have in talking with us and working with us youth is definitely appreciated.
I felt I was a happy person and a smiley person, but I was probably miserable. And my attitude changed after the encounter with the kids. I just saw the joy in them, and it brought joy in me. It brought joy in this whole building. Everybody was happier with them around.
And it almost brings tears to my eyes to know that they listened. And I didn't think young people listened to old people. And they listened.
I had students at the beginning of the year who couldn't make eye contact with me and couldn't tell me what they needed, right? They just avoided. And I think some of the stuff that they did through the grant project made them feel valuable and made them feel safe, so that then they could make eye contact. Not only make eye contact, but then say to me at the end of the semester, Ms. Sebastian, I'd like to read what this meant to me out loud.
The moment I stepped into the seniors' home, I felt like I was visiting an old friend. This feeling only continued to grow throughout my visit with you all. Being able to sit down and just talk with a stranger was incredibly refreshing. Hearing the life story of someone I didn't even know 10 minutes before is the kind of feeling that not enough are able to experience.
So Allison particularly asked to share that reflection with the group, and she is not somebody who shared freely in the class at all.
As someone with depression and anxiety, everyday life this year especially has been getting more difficult. Paranoid about everything and sad over nothing, and the cycle leaves me swinging between highs and brutal lows multiple times over the course of a single day. However, the minute I left the seniors' home, I felt like a little kid again. I suppose a lot of us wish to feel that way. I was able to see the world in color once more.
I think that whole experience changed her life. And seeing her share changed my life.
Thank you for trusting us with your wisdom and for giving others, and especially myself, the kind of gift that no other can give. Thank you for trusting us with your stories and for hearing us out in return. Thank you for bringing us connection and kindness and for bringing us joy. I believe that everyone here has the power to bring the world to its knees. Both you and I can make waves with a single voice, so don't be afraid to shout. Thank you.
Okay. So I hope you could see that, more or less. I hope it wasn't choppy. So that's an example of how you can tell a story without even the questions being there. And you can pull together different responses. You might have multiple interviews on one topic. Yeah, what was your experience of watching that? Anybody want to share?
To me, watching it was, it showed that I guess some people, older people, have a preconceived idea about young people, and it's usually negative. And but I remind people that they were young ones, and they cannot be judgmental, and think about all the youth as the same, because dealing with youth, they are amazing, and you can learn so much from them. So it was good to see how by interacting with the young people, that their whole attitude towards them changed, and their mindset about their negativity towards them changed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I saw an opportunity for change that took place with the interaction between the young people and the seniors, because it dispelled the stereotypical views that a lot of older folks have of young kids being irresponsible and they don't listen and that sort of a thing. But there was one lady who said it almost brought tears to her eyes when she realized that they listened.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice, because I'm sure the seniors might have had experiences in which they were just invisible in a crowd. But they were not made to feel that way. That was the impression I got.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Raphael.
Mary, any thoughts from your perspective as a young person? What were your thoughts about this?
I think it felt like the video, like how people like the elder people understand that other kids have like deep like feelings too, like how they have it. So yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the guy at the beginning, he thought like kids were like lazy and stuff. So yeah, he understand that they had like deeper like feelings too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So that's just an example. It works the same with audio without the video, that you can piece together responses and tell a story that way. Now we have, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have Alan McPherson of RSO Media, who's a filmmaker and a technical expert, coming next week. So you can ask him anything. You can say, I have a Samsung phone. What kind of earbuds would you recommend? You can say, this is what kind of computer I have. What kind of software do you recommend? You can bring a project idea to him. He's done a ton of courses on storytelling and interviewing. He's created a lot of films in partnership with different organizations. So in between our time, between next session, let's all try to think about, we have this hour with this man. what questions do you have for him? And we can also ask them to Raphael. We haven't made a lot of space to be able to individually ask Raphael questions. So we can also think about our questions for Raphael that we would bring as well. I'll just share the last of the slideshow here, which is the platforms that Alan did recommend for hosting a podcast. Buzzsprout.com is they have a free version, so you can upload, I think, a couple podcasts a month, and they stay for 3 months or something like that. So Buzzsprout is one, and you can look that up and learn more about it. You basically upload your podcast there, and it's very easy from that point to share it to all the different Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The platform makes it very easy to do that. And the other one he recommended, which also has a basic free program, is Anchor FM. So that's another platform that you might look into. And if you look into them before next session, you might have questions that you'd like to ask him about those different platforms. And then the free editing software that he recommended that works for both PC or Mac is Audacity. Now, for those of you who have a Mac computer, the free GarageBand is really good, actually. And PC doesn't have the same equivalent that comes with the computer, but this Audacity has a free version as well, and it can work on your Windows, for example. So you can record on there and edit. And the website for that one is audacityteam.org. So that's a couple ideas about how to host your content once you've been, and platforms that you can use to record as well and edit. So anybody have any last questions before we go, or comments?
I didn't think I would like this so much.
Oh, good.
You should see me chasing the grocery and looking at my watch. I can't miss this. It's so relaxing. It's so, I
want more.
Yes. You see, and you know what? Pat and I go to a place on Tuesdays. And you notice we're here today because Pat changed the day.
Wow. That's awesome.
Because we're in Oxbridge and the traffic is horrible, and we try to race to get back on time, and I'm like, no more. So we're going tomorrow.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have learned a lot together. We had again, as I said, it's also relationship building. We are learning a core skill, but at the bottom of that, it's relationship building and building a community. So just like we did with our drumming, it was learning a core skill, but on the surface, at the background of that core skill is building relationship. So I'm truly honored to be here with you, Alicia, and I speak for Alicia as well when we say it's a pleasure to have you with us as we build this community and this intergenerational hub.